I have tried everything to get back home. Please help me get back home. Those famous words that you all are hearing are from the most popular show that I'm sure a lot of you are watching, excuse me, and are keeping up on, which is Fringe Season 4, which is coming back on March 24th. Um, I wanted to talk about this particular subject, which is how will Peter get back home? Um, excuse me. One of the most important things I think people need to understand is that what has the show been dealing with throughout the whole season? We come to find out now after watching 14 episodes of season 4 that we are now getting into the gist of the season because it's coming to an end with only 8 more episodes left to go. And what's interesting about this show is that it does allows us to ask a couple of questions, which is why is Nina Sharp injecting Olivia Dunham with cortexiphan? Why is David Robert Jones creating these new shapeshifters? What's his agenda? And probably the most important question of the year, because I don't think nobody cares about the other two questions, is how will Peter get back to his own timeline, or back home as he calls it? After watching 14 episodes of this, I do have a theory as to how he will get home, but from what I understand, we all know that Peter was banished due to the machine because he made the choice to get into the machine to create a bridge to try to fix the problems and bring everybody together. Now that he's reappeared, there's a lot of revelations and interesting questions in this new bridge universe or new timeline. I like to call it the bridge universe because it's kind of like basically what this world is set, but unfortunately it's called the new timeline. Um, we learned a lot during the last couple of episodes, and one of the most important things we've learned about is the observers, and I'm going to get to them in a minute. But from what I understand so far, from what's been happening, is Peter comes back and basically he's in the new timeline. Now throughout the whole season, even though it's been episodic in some of them, but the story arc is really, really good. We get into the gist of Peter is obsessed with going back home. He has went to the parallel universe and tried to get Walton its help. He was in his own universe trying to get the new Walter's help, but Walter didn't want to help him at first, and then with the help of Walter and his wife, she finally agrees to help, and now Walter, the one that's his whole personality has changed, now is going to help Peter. And we all know this because we've all been following it. So I don't really need to go too into the story background on that. But what's interesting about this new couple of stories that have been happening now is that we kind of get a feel about who the observers are and what their deal is. Before I get into my theory as to how I believe Peter will get home, I will say this as an opinion, and basically I will say that this particular show, Fringe, and the episodes as it gets better, the Fringe is probably one of the greatest shows on earth, and it would be very disappointing if Fox canceled this show. I already heard that Terra Nova got canceled. Fox is canceling a lot of shows. I even heard that Alcatraz is going to be canceled too, but this is all rumor with that show. But because I don't really see them canceling that show. But you know something, anything is possible with Fox because Fox is all about ratings. So I will say that I can understand why they took that month-long wait, because they want to kind of hype the show up and get people to watch, because obviously it's a very interesting show and we all care to come back and see how Peter goes home. So they really made a very interesting strategy to get people to watch the show. But what's fascinating about this is that as I was watching this, I found out we kind of find out about the observers, which was a great episode. It was kind of like the Matrix a bit, because if anyone who saw the Matrix Reloaded, we all know that scene where Neo is talking to the architect about what is Neo's purpose in helping saving his saving Zion from being destroyed by the machines, and you get the whole. It's kind of like that scene. I mean, Fringe did a great job on it because it finally convinced Peter about what his real mission is right now, is to get back to his true love. Now, September is a very cryptid dude, because when you hear Peter talk, or listen to September talk, he doesn't give you the answers. I think that's what's kind of cool about the show, is it keeps you guessing. Like, he didn't have him there it just wasn't a coincidence that he just happened to pop up at the at Walter's lab and find out that he's dying. Obviously, he was there for a reason. And as he was explaining himself about what the observers were and how he's from like another future dimension, and we get to learn about what their purpose is a little bit. We don't know too much about it, but we kind of get an idea about it. The idea that I believe that September really felt guilty about interfering with the whole timeline. I mean, basically, I don't really think. I mean, what I mean is that I don't really believe that September obviously wants Peter to understand that what, when he interrupted his real father in the lab and when they were talking, I think September felt like, what, this was not supposed to be your destiny. Your real destiny is to be with your true love, which is your Olivia in your own timeline. So obviously it got Peter to really think that, what, I don't really belong here. I need to go back to Olivia and spend the rest of my life with my true family, my family that I love since from day one. And something, I don't know, because it's funny, because when I said before about September being cryptid, he doesn't really come out with the answers. He kind of, Peter says something like, I need to know how I get back home. September will say something like, Peter, that is not important. What is important is that you are important. Talking like talking like you're in a puzzle. And I hate when people do that, but that's kind of what makes it interesting, is because they don't just give you the answers right away. They kind of let the audience play into it and see, well, what? Obviously, Peter has to figure out what exactly is the observer trying to say. And as we see in the last episode of that particular episode, where basically Olivia is confronting Peter, and Peter doesn't belong with this Olivia in the Bridge universe. He belongs with his true Olivia back at his timeline. Now, we have now seen a couple of previews, because there's a lot of previews right now showing, future episodes before we get to the season finale, and we hope to get a season 5 out of this. I mean, I'm praying, but I noticed that you could tell that they're preparing for a cancellation, because I don't think they would really talk about the observers right away. But what, they figure, what, let's talk about them now in case we got canceled. At least the audience would know about who they were and what their mission was. But we come to the gist of the question, which is, how will Peter get home? And we learn basically a couple of things in the new episodes that they're trying to show during the quick previews. We learn that he finds a cylinder somewhere in the house. I don't know if he found it in the house, but we will learn that he finds a cylinder. Then we learn that Peter is now becoming obsessed. He finds like clothes that the observers were wearing. We don't know. Some people believe that he'll become an observer in order to get back home, or there's a lot of questions. Someone brought up an interesting question to me the other day, because a friend of mine, this girl that I know, basically was telling me, we were talking about Fringe, and she lives in my neighborhood, and she was saying that, you know, maybe Peter was already home, like another friend of mine's on YouTube said, and it's not really the timeline, that maybe he just has to accept the fact that he is where he's supposed to be, and he's being stubborn about it. And I said, it's interesting because I've heard a lot of people say that. A lot of people say, well, you know what, why would he need to go back in time when he has to accept the fact that, you know what, this is your world. You may have to fall in love with this Olivia, even though you can't have the real one. And we learned from one of September's revelations that Olivia has to die. Now, I was thinking this is where we get to the theory of how he will get back home. I honestly believe, after seeing these episodes and as we keep going on and how they bring up a new theory or a new revelation, I honestly believe that maybe Olivia has to die, and it would make sense too, because I think the biggest problem that we all have to understand is that we all know that he's trying everything he can to get back to his timeline where he belongs. Obviously, September has that answer too, because September works with other people, but, you know, he's not going to give him the full answer. He knows that Peter's intelligent. He's going to have to figure out these answers with the help of Walter, Olivia, and Astrid, and Boyles. I truly believe that Olivia is the true key. I don't really believe it's going to be the machine. I know I said that before about maybe the machine, but I did say that he's going to try to make an attempt in the machine and see if he was, like, I bet you, like, probably the last, like, 3-4 episodes when we get to the gist, I believe that he's going to try to make an attempt in the machine first and see if that will work. And if it doesn't work, then I think Olivia, who already can control her power, will probably have to die, use all her energy to get him back to his world, just like William Bell did in season 2 when Walter, Olivia, and we're trying to get Peter from the parallel universe, because Walter was using Peter and basically using him for evil purposes and revenge purposes. But, you know, I think she's going to die like the way William Bell did. Now, don't get me wrong, this is all just a theory that I have. Because the reason why I say that is because I don't really believe that the machine is going to be the answer. I originally thought so, because maybe he figured, well, if the machine was powerful enough to knock him out of his timeline, then maybe we can get back at the machine and basically try it again. I think that he's going to try to beg Olivia to bring him back, and I know there's a lot of people have been saying that theory too, that Olivia has to be the key. But, you know, if Olivia doesn't if we can't use Olivia and she dies and he's lost in another timeline, then, you know what, Peter couldn't accept the fact that he was truly home. He just had to accept the fact that, you know what, you are a destructive past, and you're a destructive person because you brought these two worlds together. And yes, September was part of the problem too, but you are the paradox. You are the problem. So we have to get rid of the problem. And you know what? Maybe this bridge universe is the way to get rid of him, to start a new life with the same person he loves, but has to get to know again. And so, you know, maybe that's what the whole theory was. That's what a lot of people believe. And when I say a lot of people who are fans of the shows, or someone who has a theory about it. But I truly believe it has to be Olivia. Now, I don't really understand why she has to die in all futures, but I think what happens is that maybe that's just September talking cryptid. But I do truly believe, and I will say this as a personal opinion, I believe that Olivia has to make a sacrifice to get Peter home. I think he will beg Olivia to sacrifice her life to get him back to his timeline, to his true love. And you know something? He really does love Olivia, and Olivia loves him. And I guess the more time that goes on, I think he believes that he'll lose Olivia forever, and maybe she'll think he's dead, and maybe, you know, she'll, come back. If he goes back to the timeline, he worries that he'll lose her. Now, I don't know how time works in this parallel universe or this new universe. We don't know if time is slow, time is fast. But for the most part, he really truly believes that Olivia's out there and he has to get back to her. Now, this is such an interesting love story because this goes to show you how much Peter truly loves this woman. And we all know that with love, we all will, want to be with that person. And, I like I've always said to people, but you have to love yourself before you love anyone else. But in Peter's case, he truly, truly loves Olivia. And we all know that they're destined to be together. And even though they come from total different universes, which is kind of like a bizarre story, but it's rather a fascinating story. And I truly believe in my heart of heart, in my heart, that what, he will get back to Olivia. Maybe that will be the final ending to the story, because if the show ends and he does get back to Peter gets back to Olivia, then maybe that'll be the end of the story. Maybe that's the build-up, because a lot of people worry if the show cancels, then what's going to happen? Basically, fans are going to be pissed off, and I think this show might get canceled. I just hope it don't get canceled while the new episodes are coming out. So, let's cross our fingers on this one. Let's hope we get a season 5 going. But, for the most part, it's rather interesting because I noticed that Peter is very obsessed with getting home. And, he sounds sad and, he sounds obsessive. But, something, if you look at all the problems he's been through, I mean, we're talking about he went to Walter at first, and Walter didn't want to help him. He went to Walton, and he went to Nina Sharp. He went to Broyles. He went to Lincoln Lee. I mean, he's going to different people to try to get this help to get him home. He even went to the point of going to Peter's mom. I mean, the Peter that died, the both Peters, if you want to call it that way. Like I said, bizarre show. But he went to that extent to get Walton and his wife help, Elizabeth, to convince Walton and even convince Walter in the Bridge universe to help him get home. So you can see the desperation that Peter wants to do to get back home. But, my final comment, because I'm very curious to find out what everyone thinks, I just want to basically ask the public or ask the fans of the show, how do you believe Peter will get home? If you had a theory and if you could tell me, how do you believe Peter will get back to his timeline? Do you think Olivia is the key? Do you believe the machine is the key? Do you believe that, maybe he's already home and it's just really about accepting the problem? There's a lot of theories, and I'm very curious because you all have very interesting ideas. But I will say this as a final comment, that I do believe that Olivia is the key. I believe that Olivia has enough power because she's the most powerful source. Anyone who could go from one universe to another in the blink of an eye, she is a very, very powerful, unique gift. And that gift can be beneficial to help Peter get back home. Because I don't really see the machine helping, because they got that thing well guarded. Broyles is not going to let him go near it because he believes he's an entity, not really. He's a friend, but he's more like an entity that could be a danger. I don't see Walton it helping, because Walton it, even though he's good in this timeline, but at the same time, Walton it might have some evil agenda. Maybe it's a pretend. The paranoid Walter that's in the Bridge universe, he's helping Peter, and he knows that they have, his intellect is very important to help him get back home. But the more important thing I think will be is to go with Olivia. So my theory is Olivia will use all her energy and all her ability from going from one universe to another that will help Peter get back home. So hit me up with your comments. Tell me what you think. As always, remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. And I hope to talk to you very soon. You take care, and everyone have a good night.